If your blood runs orange and blue, this is the pod for you. You're listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by EJ Stewart and Tommy Beer. Let's get to it.
So, as we mentioned, Julius Randle is set to be evaluated Thursday for what the team is calling a sprained ankle. Randle went down in the second quarter after landing on Bam Adebayo's foot. He was on the Garden floor in obvious pain, had trouble walking under his own power. Shout out to the Garden crowd, I think, for trying to rally around Julius, MVP chant, trying to get him going, showing the support they had for Julius in that moment. He was able to shoot the free throws that he had to shoot because of the foul, but he immediately limped over into the locker room. He did not return this game. Randle has been an Iron Man for the Knicks pretty much since he's been here. I think COVID is the only thing that's kept him from missing a game with the Knicks over the last 3 years. And here, Randle, has not missed a game this season. And here we are now where Randle might not be able to play because of his ankle injury. So how concerned are you first about the injury to Randle? I mean, we're not doctors, obviously, but given what we saw, did not look good in the moment.
Did not look good at all. And you can say what you want about Randle. You can question some stuff. You cannot question that guy's toughness. As you mentioned, he is an Iron Man. It looked weird seeing him in pain and seeing him kind of limp because you're just so used to him, just a massive, physical specimen. And we've given Randle a ton of credit for how well he's maintained his physique. He came into the season best shape of his career. His strength and durability has allowed him to play, the first 75 plus games. A ton of credit there. So to see him in pain was discouraging. You could see he knew right away that it was serious when he limped off the court. It looked like the cameras kind of followed him into the hallway. It looked like he kind of crumbled in pain once he got into the tunnel. It was just a certainly again with ankles you don't know it. You could wake up. I'm sure there's some swelling this morning. Basically, we just have to wait until what not even what Tibbs says because I'm sure he'll downplay it. But we'll see if they rule him out. Obviously, you're going to err on the side of caution. 2 weeks away from the start of the postseason. So I would be surprised if he played Friday. I'd be surprised if he played in their next contest. Give him a few days, even if he feels well, and see kind of how it responds. But if we're looking at the worst case scenario, high ankle sprains or serious ankle sprains can drag on for weeks and weeks. So it could put the start of the postseason in jeopardy. Those are questions we're going to have to wait until he speaks with the media, until we get reports from the team medical staff, until we kind of get some. First thing you want to hear is the MRIs and the X-rays, etc. That confirm no breaks, no tears, things along those lines. And then it's just probably a pain tolerance and swelling issues and all those things that go into an ankle sprain. We'll see how well Randle bounces back.
Yeah, I don't know if he got an X-ray. I assume he would have got an X-ray at the Garden, and we would have learned if he broke something.
Right.
At least the X-ray showed he broke something. So that is probably a good sign that they were able to say sprained ankle.
True.
Now, of course, we don't know about ligaments or things like that because you need MRI for that. Knicks probably couldn't do that on Thursday night, or it was on Wednesday night. But yeah, I mean, it was terrible seeing him go down because Randle is a guy who takes nicks and knacks and gets up and kind of just brushes them off. So when you saw him kind of writhing in pain and not able to get up off the Garden floor, it was a little concerning because this is a guy who this is a different foot, but he broke his leg as a rookie with the Lakers, and that was the last time I saw him look like that. Like that was the last time where he couldn't get up and he just looked like he was in obvious pain. So I was immediately took back to that and say, oh my God, did he break his ankle? Because sometimes those things they look like normal sprains, but then you could have a LaMelo Ball situation where you fracture your ankle and you're done for the season. So as of right now, it sounds like the Knicks may have avoided that absolute catastrophic incident. But yeah, even if it's an ankle sprain, if you're talking about a very high grade ankle sprain, that's something that could kind of put you out for a month. And this is not newsflash. It's not the time where Knicks can afford to have one of their best players out for a month that you're heading into the postseason. But yeah, definitely concerning in the moment. I think the way things sit right now, you cannot play him on Thursday or Friday, whenever they play. Like you can't. That's like lunacy. He's gonna have to sit at least for a couple of games. And you gotta just try to get him right for the postseason at this point. Like I know it's not ideal to have a guy get hurt this late in the season, but if he's healthy enough to get a tune-up game, prior to the end of the year, get him out there for 20 minutes. But this is not one of those injuries where you can kind of rush him back, especially with an ankle injury, because you may think you're fit, it's 70-80%. You can go out there, but that thing swells up and that thing can linger. So hopefully the Knicks take the right precautions here, especially given that they're kind of almost locked in to be a playoff team. What you can't have is going into the playoffs, Randle is compromised and he can't give you what he's supposed to give you.
Totally agree. And I will say, even before the ankle injury, he did not look good.
He had a really rough start to this game.
He had a really rough start to the game, scoreless in the first quarter. I think the first time all season he was 0 for 3 from the floor. Yep. Didn't look engaged, didn't look involved. Basically, since the 57-point explosion, got a technical in that game, got the technical in the following game, got, had the massive blow up with IQ in the subsequent game. He has not looked right. I don't want to say looked right mentally because it sounds kind of pejorative and downplaying what could be mental health issues. But just he has not looked like himself. I'll say that. He's not looked like the same Julius Randle we saw over the first 70 plus, 90% of the season. I don't know if there's something else going on off the court. I don't know if he's dealing with something in his personal life, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's just a slump. Maybe he was dealing with another shoulder injury or finger injury. These guys are constantly dealing with nicks and bruises. So who knows what he was fighting through, but he just did not seem like himself the last week or so. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. You hope that it's not a significant ankle sprain that just, can require a couple days rest and ice and all that stuff. And maybe that helps him kind of reset his internal clock and kind of recalibrate, do some deep breaths and take some yoga classes, etc. But he has not looked like good for the last couple, 7 to 10 days or so. So maybe this is something that can kind of help him recharge his battery a little bit. I guess if you're looking for a bright side, that could potentially be one.
Yeah, I mean, he's a player that definitely could probably use a reset. I do not want him to have a reset. This be the reason why. I don't want him injured as the reason why he has a reset. But this is a guy that plays every day. Tibbs definitely ain't going to be someone who's going to lighten up on his minutes when he's out there. So he's playing his 37 to 40 minutes a night. He's taking his punishment because he's a physical player. And, we've seen that seasons can take a toll on him emotionally. So he's going to have to sit out here for at least a week, you would think, maybe more. Hopefully it's not too much more than that, but you think at least a week he's going to have to sit out. And maybe this is his ability to kind of focus on something outside of, playing in games. He can focus on rehab, focus on getting his ankle right. And in turn, maybe that can kind of give him the full reset he needs. Because you're right. I think that he entered that game absolutely with not the right mindset. I mean, this is a playoff caliber game. You're playing against a Miami Heat team that he's been torturing for most of the season. So they were going to be keyed in on him, and they were. And he just was kind of, I would describe him as passive. Yeah. Like he really wasn't trying to force the issue in any way. And maybe you say, well, that's a good thing because sometimes he does force it. But it was bad, to start that first quarter because the Knicks were so hapless offensively. And it almost reminded me of, it's a very weird analogy, but since the NBA, you probably remember this game. There was a game in 2002, 2003, I want to say, the Lakers were playing the Kings, and there had been this back and forth between Kobe and Shaq about taking shots. And Kobe came into a game. I think he didn't shoot the first half. He might have shot 4 times the whole game. The Lakers got blown out by the Kings on a national TV game on Sunday afternoon. And it was kind of said that, hey, Kobe wanted to make a point, I guess. Okay, you don't want me to shoot? All right, watch this.
Yep.
It almost looked like that with Randle. I don't know for sure, but that's how disengaged he was to start that game. So you're right. He didn't start off the game that well. But yeah, hopefully this can maybe reset him at least. And of course, hopefully he gets back healthy. That's the most important thing. Hopefully he can get this ankle right. In this meantime, how do the Knicks adjust? I mean, like I mentioned before, I think that lineup we saw with the small ball 4 being Josh Hart is something that they're going to have to play. We know Obi Toppin now is going to have a much bigger role. You would assume he enters the starting lineup, though maybe, I don't know. Maybe Tibbs throws with Hart after what he just saw. What do we think of how the Knicks adjust with Randle out?
Yeah, so I think that Obi has earned the opportunity to be inserted into the starting lineup. He's played. He's been a good soldier for 3+ years now.
Yeah.
And Hart plus Hart is just so excels in that role of the bench. So I don't think you want to
Yep.
mess with the chemistry heading into the playoffs. And to your earlier point, I think we definitely have to. He has to experiment with that 5-man unit that closed out Wednesday's win over Miami. That being said, I think of a lot of it's going to be matchup based. So, for instance, heading into Cleveland, assuming Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are both healthy and suit up, that's not that's probably not the front court
Tough
you want to
matchup.
go
Yeah.
against.
Yeah.
Whether you bring in Sims or see how long if Obi can handle 40 minutes without getting terrorized by Evan Mobley, who's having a really good second half of the season, one of the league's
Yep.
rising stars. And then Mitch has also been, he has not looked good in the last few games.
I think he's not 100%. I really think that knee's bothering him.
Agreed. He still looks like he's dragging that knee a little bit. Doesn't have that same explosion and just kind of that same. He hasn't impacted the game nearly as much prior to the injury since. So maybe we'll see if maybe limit his minutes a little bit. Don't be afraid to give him some time off this last 2 weeks of the season. So maybe that involves Sims getting some rotation. That being said, if Tibbs is going to stick with the 9 men and obviously Randle's out, I would put McBride in ahead of Sims. Yeah, I just think we've seen how much McBride helps a team both ends of the floor, especially now that he's knocking down shots of late. So this may be a good opportunity for him to kind of get in to make an impact again, have an opportunity again. I think like Obi, he's earned an opportunity to see extended minutes. So again, a lot of it's matchup dependent. If Mitch Rob gets in foul trouble, or if Mitch Rob sits out a game, then Sims, then you don't have much of a choice. But if you're game planning, I'd like to see Tibbs game plan for McBride to play at least 12, 15, 18 minutes a night while Randle's sidelined.
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned that because I didn't think you would go there, but I totally agree. I really think that McBride should be the guy that gets entered into the rotation, and you just run a little smaller for the next however many games you have. What's interesting is the Knicks, if you're talking about getting ready for the playoffs, it's likely going to be this Cleveland team.
Yep.
If it's not Cleveland, it'll be Philly. And if it is 5 second-round match, you'll be looking at Milwaukee most likely. All 3 teams probably not lines that you want to go small. So there's a part of me when I was thinking about this, like, do you get Sims ready? Because there are games where there may be foul trouble he has to play. But I still think that McBride has played so well that I want to keep him fresh, and B, I want to see, okay, like how do we look if we do have to go smaller against some of these teams? And if it doesn't work out, then you say, all right, Sims gonna have to get some time because we can't guard these teams. I think this is gonna be a very interesting test for them. But I agree, McBride was playing so well prior to Brunson returning that I think that he's earned the chance to still get out there, especially given that Hart has shown that he can handle playing the 4.
I will say this: if you're ever going to experiment, Friday's the game, because experiment with something you're probably not going to do in the postseason, I should say, because there's a little bit of gamemanship's involved. If you think that 5-man unit's going to be a real impactful unit in the playoffs, don't give Cleveland a look at it on Friday night. Don't give them a firsthand look and have time to prepare and get a feel for it. If you really think that is something you might roll out in the playoffs, keep it out at night, and then you don't want your first round opponent to get basically get a free practice session against it.
And I really thought this game the Knicks won was extremely important for everyone in the organization, especially at the very least, everyone that coaches and plays for the Knicks. Because I think oftentimes, because the Knicks have kind of made Julius Randle their kind of the center of their earth and their universe, sometimes they kind of forget that it's a team. I think sometimes the players forget that it's a team. As crazy as that sounds, given how sometimes they kind of just rely on Randle to just kind of just get them out of situations. And seeing them play as a team to beat the Heat that game, I hope it kind of opened everybody's eyes to saying, hey, like, this is a good team. Like, yeah, Randle is extremely important. They cannot win anything if he's not out there. But they have a good team. They have multiple weapons. And if they play as a team, they can win. They don't have to win playing only one way, which is only running everything through Randle and Brunson. We've now seen that IQ can take over games. We've now seen that Grimes can have big games offensively. we've now seen that they can win games on their defense, being a disruptive unit who can cause turnovers, which we saw in the fourth quarter. I'm hoping that everybody saw that and said, okay, we can play any style of play. We don't have to get bogged down into playing a one-on-one isolation kind of game with Randle or a two-man game solely with Brunson and Randle. And I hope that Randle saw, hey, the weight of the world isn't on me. I think so much of the issues he has is this idea that he feels like everything is on him. And he does have a lot of pressure, but everything isn't on him. He can rely on his teammates. He can play, secondary to some of these guys when they're going. And hopefully he kind of saw that defensive effort and said, hey, these guys are getting after it and they won a game essentially on their defense. I got to give that same effort as well to help my teammates. I hope everybody who watched that game, we're all upset that Julius got hurt, but I hope everybody who watched that game saw and said, hey, we can win basketball games more than just hoping Randle plays well and living with the fact that maybe he just won't close out on people, or live with the fact that, hey, he's going to take some bad shots and force some things, or he's going to get some turnovers, but we got to live with it. I'm hoping that everybody saw it and said, hey, that's not how we have to play. Not saying that you're not going to have games where you're going to have to rely on him. You will. But this team is a good team. And they need to start acting like they are a good team, not a team of two guys.
And I hope the head coach saw it too. And obviously he did.
Exactly.
Because so often this season, it's Brunson Randle, the fourth quarter, the last 6 minutes, last 3 minutes of the first half. You need a bucket. They're very predictable. Predictability leads to makes it easy for defenses to lock in against certain actions. That unpredictability that Grimes, if you close out too hard, he's in the lane, dumps it off to Hart for a dunk or Mitch Rob for a dunk. IQ plays, had that beautiful pass trapped in the Coughlin corner.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Jumps in the air, throws an incredible pass to Hartenstein for a dunk. These are the type of things that make the Knicks far less predictable. Josh Hart grabbing the ball, a defensive rebound, running, pushing the ball down the court. You don't pick him up. He's got to lay up, his 2 foot Euro, finishing with his opposite hand, or he'll kick out to a guy. So all these things, we've been calling for it and asking for Tibbs to do it, and maybe seeing it in the flesh, increases the likelihood of it happening. Who knows if Randle's there? He probably, comes back in the fourth. But to your point, maybe there's a little bit of a silver lining there by showing everybody involved, the players, the coaches, the fans, that there are multiple ways to skin a cat here. There are multiple ways to finish this thing. And if Randle doesn't have it one night, leave him on the bench a little bit longer.
Right.
He's not contributing defensively, and his shot isn't falling. Give Obi a couple extra minutes. Give Hart time at the 4. There's other ways that we can figure this out. So I think that was important in that respect.
Yeah, it was important because I think sometimes when there is a rush to defend Randle, there's a attitude of, well, we have to just live with everything that comes with Randle, and sometimes that stuff is negative because we have no other choice, because they cannot play or win in any other way. And it's weird because I feel like the very few times there have been situations where he hasn't played or whatever, the Knicks have shown that they can live without him. But then it kind of gets dismissed as, oh, well, that was 2 games, or oh, that was the end of the season, or you can't take that. Like, again, it's not a diss to Randle at all. I'm just saying at this overall as a team that this is a team. And I think that I hope that the whole organization understands that and starts treating it like that. I hope the players understand that and start treating it like that, because I thought that was the only silver lining in Randle not being able to return that game, was that they were able to find a way to win without Brunson on the floor. I mean, like, think about that. I mean, Randle goes out, doesn't even return, and they still find a way to win. So it shows that the Knicks have a really solid squad this season. So let's get